What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome into another episode, first in-season episode of the Triple Play Fantasy Baseball Show, a proud member of Underdog Fantasy and the Underdog Fantasy family. Reminder, if you use code TRIPLE on your first deposit, you will get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Great deal. So if you've been wanting to get in on Underdog Fantasy, if you've been wanting to play stuff during the season over Underdog, all the great bets over there, the more or less, all the good stuff, make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy. Use code TRIPLE. We are all back. Week one of the fantasy baseball season. The wear and tear of the off season is finally over, and we are here to help you guys win your leagues, win your matchups, and give you a bunch of cool, unique concepts, segments, entertainment, everything else. I am so hyped to introduce, of course, Lil Cheesecake, Marty Party, and the Doc. Fellas, Lil Cheesecake, we are finally in the regular season. Please just tell me how you're feeling.
It feels like the party started. We've been buying the chips, we've been buying the beer, and finally party started, and we're prepared. We've been prepping for this party, and it started. And I've taken some victory laps already. I've taken some walks of shame already. But it's been how can you not love baseball being back? Clawing out there. I've had a couple fab runs, picked up some things. I'm beating DMendy in our home.
Oh, you're gonna throw that out there already.
Week one. Oh man, I can't let the whole show go by, so I got to get it in early. I'm beating you. You're having a tough week one, but oh man, it's great. It's great.
Corbin Burns is really killing me right now. I had the choice between him and Garrett Cole, and I chose Corbin Burns, and it is eating me alive against LC in week one. Of course, you guys know the live streams. Always, we have the chat going every single time here. So London's checking in. What's going on, London? And our guy Toby here. Beer, baseball, and the boys. We always love hanging out with everybody in the chat. So please make sure, whether it's questions or you guys just want to throw comments out there for us to discuss, just get involved. It's a good time. Just like Marty Party is. He's got his drink. He's got his fantasy baseball. And he's got his Detroit Tigers. But that's probably where the good time ends, is right there.
Hey, opening day here in Detroit. It's always a magical time. Unfortunately, we took the loss, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. Like Art said, I mean, it's go time here. Baseball all day, every day. I've been checking my phone on the computer, looking at the schedules for next week. This is the best time of the year.
Oh, 100%. It's that opening day feels like Christmas, and guys that you thought were going to do well, if they're doing well in the beginning, you look at all your shares, or guys that you missed out on that you wish you drafted more of. It's all the feels. And Doc, you were robbed of all the feels of opening day in Baltimore, as I know you were very upset about.
You know what? If opening day happened today, I would have been browned out doing this pod.
For those that don't know what that
tomorrow.
Means, why don't you tell us what browned out means, Doc?
Browned out means you've drank a lot of alcohol and you know what you're doing, but you're not having a filter of what comes out of your mouth.
Interesting. All right. Our listeners learned a new term if you did not know what that meant. But I'll tell you guys, you might get browned out with the fantasy baseball discussion we've got today. We've got your 2-start pitchers. We've got some hot guys off the waiver wire that you could pick up. We've got doctor's office. We've got bring out your dead. So much great stuff to get to. Without further ado, let's get things started. Week one of the fantasy baseball season on Triple Play Fantasy. Let's get going. All right, so we are starting up first segment, our W.O.W players. That's right. We don't say the word. Players that just make you say the 3 letters together, give you the look on your face that you see on screen, are W.O.W players of the week. Starting off here, there are so many Milwaukee Brewers that you could put on this list. I only put 2, but there are a lot of different guys here. Let's start off with Brice Turang. Over his last 4 games, a 313, 421, 563 line, 1 homer, 5 RBIs, 5 runs. He's also got 2 steals. The one thing I will note is he has sat both games against left-handed pitching so far this season, but he looks like he is primed and he is ready to make a big leap this year, as he was one of the top Brewers prospects. I don't know if either of you gentlemen, I know I just made sure I added him in a couple leagues that that isn't Fab related, and you could go pick off the waiver wire. Is Brice Turang somebody that you are trying to grab as much as possible?
I did pick him up in my 10-team home league, and I don't think he's necessarily like, you don't need to pick him up in a 10-team league, but because of the home runs and the steals, he's on my bench right now, but I got him. Yeah.
Now, is he your favorite Brewer ad though? That's the question, because Brian Anderson, who we'll get to in a second, there's also Joey Weimer, Sal Frelick still in the minors.
Garrett
He could
Mitchell.
be somebody.
The Wink Show, Jesse
That's
Wink.
right. There's
I feel like the ad should be depending on what your team needs. Like, we've already seen a decent amount of injury. So if you've lost like an outfielder, if you have Eloy Jimenez like me, you might want to target Garrett Mitchell or Joey Weimer. But if you need an infielder, Brice Turang. It also depends on the eligibility, as we've seen, like ESPN, NFBC, everybody has, kind of different eligibility per each format.
And speaking of eligibility, he will be also second base eligible. Right now, he's just shortstop.
Ooh.
He is playing a lot of second base, so he will be that. It's something huge. Obviously, second base opens up not just obviously that position. Middle infield's open up for him, so there's a lot of good positional flexibility, and he's going to steal a lot of bases this year. So Brice Turang, if he's out there on your waiver wire, you got to go pick him up.
The tats too.
That's right. As well as Nolan Gorman over his first 5 games, a 438, 571, 875 line. He has 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. He's not stolen a base. But the one thing that's interesting, he did have a 2 home run game versus Toronto, but the strikeout rate is down 4% so far this year, 32.9 to 28.6 so far this season. And that's huge. Nolan Gorman was somebody that you knew the power was there at the second base position, but the strikeouts were too high. They were always above 30% when he was playing last year. And he talked about his approach in the offseason about working at the top part of the plate and being able to attack the high fastball. So now he's able to be ready for it if people try to attack him high in the zone. LC, there are so many great Cardinals players on this roster. Are you worried about playing time for Nolan Gorman, or do you think he's locked in and he's somebody that you would pick up?
No, I don't think he's locked in, but I would pick him up because he's hot, and with Nootbaar out, there are at bats to be had. Has he been playing in the field every day as he's been out there, or has he been DHing more?
Nolan Gorman?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's been in the field every game that he's been in. I'll double check that. I know obviously Nootbaar is on the IL, but they have had their outfield filled. Obviously, Alec Burleson has been taking advantage of some playing time out there. Tyler O'Neill was playing out there before he got benched.
Yeah, Marmol gave him a hustle. You didn't hustle enough. Chastising the other day. Which was I don't know. I mean, I don't know. He looked like he was running. I mean, he didn't look like he was hustling around the third base line, but I've not heard of a manager calling out somebody like that this early in the season. Really, he's like, he took offense. O'Neill did. I hope it doesn't affect his performance.
I just say that I do think Nolan Gorman is a must add.
You do think he's a must add? Yeah,
just for the sake of like that was the thing we were talking about with Cardinals hitters is where is there going to be room for them? And then we see a Nootbaar injury. The thing with Tyler O'Neill, that seems like it goes beyond just that one hustle play. Like, It seems like there is beef between him and Marmol, and it wouldn't surprise me. They had a report that O'Neill might be benched Friday, and he might be a trade target. And then if Tyler O'Neill is gone, that basically then eliminates 2 hitters from where we talked about a crowded situation and probably one of the best hitting lineups. So I think just for that reason and the fact that we have seen improvement in his K percentage, he's a must-add. Now, obviously, he's not going to hit 438, but he can get a lot of counting stats in that offense.
Yeah, he's been DHing. I've just checked. He DH'd the last 2 games he played.
And, that you could see Tyler O'Neill in a trade. If obviously the manager and him are butting heads, that's another player that's, going to not take up playing time so he can stay in the lineup. So he could be maybe a nice, maybe a player that or someone that picked him up, we'll trade him for the right price, or maybe he's out there for people that don't believe in him. But I think he's definitely worth a speculative ad. What about James Outman, who I feel like he was the player after the first game of the season that everybody was rushing over to the waiver wire to grab. He had a home run on opening day. And then obviously he seemed like he's been hot and cold because he had a home run on opening day. Then he didn't get a hit over his next 3 games. But then he plays, and then he gets 2 triples on April 4th. They said he's the first Dodgers rookie to get 2 triples in a game since in the 1960s. So he's just been all over the place. The playing time obviously is questionable. They have a lot of different young talent they could plug in there. I added James Outman in a couple leagues. I'm curious, Doc, is he somebody that you would add? Because it seems like the tools are there. He's one of those guys that could hit 30-30 as he's done in the minors, has a steal on the season as well. Do you think the playing time will be there for him to be a worthy add?
In a 15-team league, I would definitely look at it. In a 10 or 12 team, I wouldn't. And now this is before the Mookie Betts injury, because if Mookie Betts does have to spend time on the IL, then I think James Outman is the obvious replacement. But the Dodgers seem to rotate outfielders based on who's hot. I mean, Trace Thompson has a 3-home run game and then plays the next game and then is benched. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just going to be a kind of a rotating situation there. I mean, he's striking out 37% of the time right now. And it's been in the high 20s for most of his career. So shallower leagues, I'm not rushing, but a 15-team league, yes, of course.
Yeah, I think any type of Dodgers player that's producing, you have to definitely take the flyer just in case that they could be somebody that's a major impact this year. But let's go back to the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's talk about Brian Anderson, who has been around the last couple of years, but his first 6 games of the season, a 500, 565, 1056 line, 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 4 walks to 5 strikeouts. He's not going to steal bases. But the thing that's really important to note here is his exit velocity right now is a career high, and it's actually not even close. His exit velocity this year is 93.3. He's only had a 90.2 as the next closest, and that was back in 2018. It's usually in the high 80s. So he's added about 5 miles per hour of exit velocity onto his career average. And on top of that, all his expected stats are elite right now. He's the top 3% of expected batting average, top 1% of expected slug, top 1% of WOBA and expected WOBA. And his walk percentage is 17.4% this year. He's only had 1 year where it's been in the double digits. Again, is he going to keep that up? Maybe not, but he seems like he's a different hitter to where maybe even if those regress some, he's going to be an impact bat for this Milwaukee Brewers lineup. He might be, especially the fact that he's third base and outfield eligible. He could arguably be the biggest add here, Marty Party. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's somebody that's a major impact for you this season.
I like that you called him Marty Party. Did you look at one of my slides later for the Marty Party segment? Because he may not be on there.
That's great minds think alike.
Yeah, so I'll go back over it. But no, I mean, it's been absolutely incredible. 3 home runs, batting 500, a 1.56 slug, 10 RBIs. He's got 3 home games versus the Cardinals this weekend. We'll get into it later. But yeah, I'm liking everything I'm seeing from him. Third base eligibility, Hachi Machi. Thank you. I'll take it.
I like it. Yeah, Brian Anderson is definitely somebody to take a look at. There's actually a lot more hitters this week than pitchers. And that's why I wanted to include, normally I try to do 4 and 4, but this week there's a lot of hitters more to talk about. Trevor Larnach of the Minnesota Twins, who had high prospect pedigree and has always hit the ball really hard, but there's been some injuries that have been a question mark for him. Right now, 391, 481, 609 line, 1 home run and 6 RBIs on the season. He's hitting cleanup against right-handed pitching, so the Twins are throwing him in right away against righties. And the one big thing that was against left-handed pitching, they chose to play him over Joey Gallo. It was between those 2 guys for the Twins of who was going to stay in the lineup. And even though he was hitting 8th, he's still getting the chance to play, which is huge. I think Trevor Larnach, to me, is somebody I'm very comfortable in a 5 outfielder league to pick up because I know the Twins are going to play him. Again, the prospect pedigree, the fact that they need power in that lineup because right now, obviously, Jorge Polanco is out. They obviously, they're missing a couple of their top prospects. Byron Buxton is always in and out of the lineup. So they need guys that can impact with the bat, and he's definitely one of their better players here, LC. Trevor Larnach, you see him on your waiver wire. Are you picking him up?
I am. He's got a good power swing, and he's swinging the bat well. The playing time is really what I'm looking at, like you said. Hitting 4th in a lineup, and I like this Twins team. I think they're going to be above 500, producing well all season. I like their lineup. It's well, especially with Buxton in it. I'm picking him up. I think he's probably going to be an all-season hold.
Yeah, I think, again, when there's playing time paths and they're producing, you have the safety that comes in there, which is very exciting. We got Uncle Ted Talks hanging out on the show. Uncle Ted Talks is a great fantasy baseball mind himself. And our guy Forrest is in here too. And he's bringing the energy in the chat right now. But Forrest, again, is also other great baseball mind that's always engaging during the show. We appreciate both you guys in the chat. Let's go to our next player here. We got two more players. No, three more players we'll talk about. Next one is this guy. I love Mr. Bay. Mr. Bay. I forgot what. Highwind Bay. Last 7 games, over his last 7 days, 5 games, a 222, 263, 444 line. He's got 1 homer and 2 steals on the season, which I think the steals are key here because I see the Pirates playing him every day just to have him get a chance to see if he's going to be part of their future or not. He's second base and outfield eligible, and he's 94% sprint speed. Marty Party. Is Highwind Bay somebody that you are going to look at if you need steals, or is he somebody that you're kind of a little skeptical on if he's going to produce enough?
I didn't tell you this, David, but I was outbid by Bay by $1 by Mr. Dave McDonald in Glarf.
Oh.
I put down 43. He put down a cheeky 44, stole it from me. Yeah, in a 15-team league, get some steals. He looks like he's going to be playing, most days. Yeah, I do like what I'm seeing there.
Yeah, again, the Pirates have every reason to see what he is out there, and he should be somebody that, especially if you need steals, take the chance on. The next 2 pitchers, the last 2 players, Graham Ashcraft, who was Golden Graham Ashcraft in his first start of the season. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. 25 walks in 17 1/3 innings this spring. He was working on a new slider grip that was more effective to pair with his 99 to 100 mile per hour cutter. And he had 10 swinging strikes against a bad Pirates lineup. Obviously, you'd like to see more swinging strikes, but he was really upping the usage of this slider 41% of the time in this start compared to 27% of the time last season. He really does seem like he's turned a quarter Golden Graham Ashcraft here. Doc, I feel like we can call him that because last year he was Graham Ashcraft. Now he's Golden Graham Ashcraft. Is he going to stay that way this season?
He's not going to be golden. Maybe like bronze. I was a big Graham Ashcraft guy before the season starts.
Mm-hmm.
I think the detriment to him is going to be pitching in Cincinnati because, last year, the 105 innings, 0.94 home runs per 9.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very impressed if he kept it at that same rate. But he has really good stuff, double-digit upside. I think we don't talk about this enough that the Cincinnati Reds might have the best young rotation or like in 3-4 years between him, Hunter Green, and Lodolo. I think that's part of the reason he doesn't get the shine or did get the shine prior to the season is because we were talking about those other 2 arms. But yeah, I'm encouraged by him. I'm adding him in deeper leagues, especially with all the injuries we've seen to pitching so far.
And he's part of the big 3 now. Him and Nick Lodolo and Hunter Green. The Reds have a really young, exciting rotation they're building.
We're doing this thing again where David repeats exactly what I've said. He said it with the Tyler O'Neill. He said it with this. David just doesn't want to.
Recapping.
Listen.
That's right, Eric.
Host does.
It's just like when you also say the name again, like Graham Ashcraft, people don't know who you're talking about. It's hosting 101, Doc. I'll give you a tip sometime. Justin Steele, the last player we'll talk about here for the Chicago Cubs. 6 innings of 3-hit ball, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts in his opening day start here. It wasn't on opening day, but his first start of the season. He had a 1.4 ERA, 123 whip, and a 10.8 K per 9 over his final 10 starts last year. And he did it by upping his best pitch, which was the slider, to about 33% last year. Well, that was 50% in his first start this season. So he is taking his best pitch approach, and he is leaning into it, Art. Justin Steele was someone I don't think we talked about a lot this offseason because we were a little concerned. Maybe was it a flash in the pan? Right. You're a Cubs fan, so you definitely stay plugged into the franchise here. As a Cubs fan that watches the games, is Justin Steele throwing that pitch consistently as much as he does? Is this something that you could feel comfortable with as a long-term ad this season, or is he just a streamer?
I think you want to hold on to him. And we had, he got caught up. He was a lot of people's favorite in like November. People after the season ended, people were excited about Steele more so than Wesneski. And then as the offseason went along, Wesneski got a little bit more little bit more popular as far as like the low, like, because there's only so much bandwidth to talk about players. But Steele's been a guy who has had his believers that strikeout stuff is real. You have to hold on to him, especially in deep leagues. I'd say in a 10-team league, he's probably, you want to hold on to him, but there might be someone you would, but like 12 and up, he's definitely a hold for right now.
All right. That is Justin Steele to close out the top names you might see on the waiver wire here in your fantasy baseball leagues. Just to kind of catch up with the comments here. One of the things that interesting is Uncle Ted says Graham just throws ropes, and when it heats up, when they get jacked. Zach Eflin's also a name that we were kind of talking about a little bit last season. He looked great in his first start, and Forrest adds that fantasy is a lot like poker. You gotta basically stay on top of things, as he's saying. It's good to basically in the beginning for stocks and trades, kind of keep an eye on players and how they're doing, their performances, so you can kind of get ahead here. But a lot of great stuff in the chat going on here.
Bringing Forrest to do our business plan. This guy's got he's got the ideas, man.
He does. Forrest, you might have to be in your DMs to figure that out.
Stocks are my love language.
That's right. So our next thing we're going to go through is the most added and most dropped players that you might see on your waiver wire here. Oh. So these are the most added, most dropped players, courtesy of CBS, and this is of Thursday morning. The top ad is Adam Duvall in 57% of leagues. That's right. Nolan, Gorman, Graham Ashcraft. You'll see some crossover with some of these guys. Mike Clevenger, Brice Turang, James Outman, Jorge Mateo, and Aaron Savale top the most added list. Of course, there's also the most dropped. A lot of these guys will be injury related, but some are performance. Luis Urias, who's out for 2 months, tops the most dropped players. Sean Manaea, which hurts my heart. I like to think that there's definitely going to be better days ahead. So I'm not dropping Manaea yet if I have deep benches, but I know he's out of the rotation right now. Jared Schuster, Spencer Turnbull, Eddie Rosario, Daniel Bard, Josh Rojas, and Danny Jansen are your most dropped players. Team schedules for next week. This is really important when you are making fab bids to see how many games that every team has. Right now, there's no egregious. There's not a team playing 8 games. There's not a team playing 4 or 5 games. Every team next week is playing 6 or 7. Just for those listening on the podcast, I will not read out every single name, but just keep in mind, again, 6 or 7 for every team next week. I will highlight on the podcast version if there is anything weird with the schedule. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the teams on screen for who has 6 and who has 7 games. LC, it is your time for a fan favorite segment. Bring out your dead.
Yeah. We got to get that bring out your dead music back. The bana, bring out your dead. It's, it's 1 week of the season. We got to have a little bit of perspective on what we're doing here, but your heart still hurts from the bad performances. I'm going to start off with a guy I want to add to bring out your dead. That's our just mentioned Luis Urias from Milwaukee. I picked him up. we're not going to talk about my problems all show, but I got too much Tatis, and Urias was my shortstop backup for Tatis on a couple of teams, and he's down in the first week of the season, and tough breaks. So I'm putting Urias on the death cart. I want to move on next to David bringing up Corbin Burns. I want to go around the horn. I'm going to take over host duties. 1 to 10, everybody. Scale of 1 to 10. What is our worry level of Corbin Burns? And if you have a comment or two, go on. Marty, why don't we start with you?
Sure, and I will go into my comments later, but it's 0.
Okay, Doc, you have a 1 to 10 worry about Corbin Burns.
I'm going 3. I'm more worried kind of from the mental aspect with the whole arbitration thing. I feel like he's in his head maybe feeling like he has to pitch to perfection because he's shown flashes of the old Corbin Burns, but I don't know. You never know what goes on kind of behind closed doors in the business side.
David, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested if anybody in the chat wants to give their thought on Corbin Burns too, and their concern level with him.
1 to 10, yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably about a 3. If you look at his like last 10 starts last year, it was like I want to say it was like a mid to high 2s ERA, and the K rate was down a little bit. Spring training didn't look good. I haven't read specifically if there's been something noticeable, like is it a huge velocity dip? Is it just pitch mix difference? I haven't looked deep enough to say if there's something that's been sticking out. Uncle Ted Talks is a 3 as well, as he's putting in the chat with Corbin Burns. That's kind of where I'm at. I think if I remember correctly, he definitely bombed against the Cubs in his first start last year. Yep. I don't remember how he bounced back in his second start, but he eventually became the guy that we knew he would be. So if he does this, I'd probably give him 2 more starts. If 2 more starts, he does this, I will be concerned. And like Uncle Ted Talk says, if you have somebody that has at like a 6, 7, or 8, he's a good trade target. Somebody that you could try to buy low and reap the benefits, which I think will be coming here.
One of the things that I noticed, his velo's not down. His velo is right where it was last year, so that's encouraging. His K minus walk is down, and the thing that's most alarming is he's much more hittable. He has a 94% zone contact on his pitches so far this season, and his out of zone contact is 60%, which is above average, of course, but 94% is way above average. So he's just been hittable this year, and that's not our Corbin Burns. I'm at probably a 4. I'm gonna just up at 1. I'm not gonna go crazy because it's 2 starts, but him being hittable, that's a little bit of a worry to me. Our 45 Donnie, whose name is I Get It on Twitter, suggested Michael Harris, and I'll tell you, Donnie, I get it too. Harris has been all over the lineup in the 6 games. He's hit 6th once, 7th once, 8th once, 5th 3 times. No home runs, just 1 steal, 4 runs plus RBIs, and 227 average. If you took him high enough if you believed in him enough to take him in the 2nd or 3rd round, you gotta keep going. But oh man, I understand that feeling. Does anyone here have any worry about Harris?
I did before the season. I remember I was having a conversation with Clegg, and I believe it's I want to say it was Taylor Bauer, I think, on Twitter, and we were talking about Michael Harris, and rightfully so. I mean, they both were talking about kind of the higher end outcomes, and I was a little bit more worried about the lower end outcomes with the high ground ball rate. The fact that he had never played above AA, could he become crashing down in his rookie season? So we were kind of divided on it. And I drafted Michael Harris in the Arizona Fall League draft we did at FPAS. And I didn't draft him after that because I started looking more into it. And I was really concerned about what what the fallout could be. And are we chasing something that might not be there?
You drafted him at his ceiling this year.
Yeah, that's I think the big concern, and I want to bring up Forrest's comment here. That's why I put it on screen. What would you give to get him if you're trying to get Michael Harris right now?
I think he was referring to Corbin Burns.
I mean, I can even turn it. We could turn it to Burns and Harris. Because
I wouldn't give up a lot for Michael Harris.
Would you give up? Okay, we're gonna say hitter for hitter.
Yeah,
to make it easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you give up Jonathan India, who's looked pretty good?
I'd rather have Jonathan India.
You guys would rather have Jonathan India?
Wow. Yeah.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
I have 0 of Michael Harris.
With the speed going up, right? Like he's less valuable.
How many steals did he have this season?
1.
Boris, would you have Jordan Walker?
I'd take Jordan Walker.
No.
I would take Jordan Walker too.
Would you?
I would.
In a smaller like 10-12 team league, Walker. In a 15, I want Harris.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm gonna pull up while we're talking.
Yoshida or Michael Harris.
Yoshida, baby.
Yoshida.
Wow.
Really?
Right? Isn't that crazy how far Michael Harris has kind of fallen
in a week
here? A week into the season?
I have 0 shares. He was only good for like 3 months.
I think the only Michael Harris I took was in our 3-person draft, and he was there in the 10th round.
So he has 2 steals. So
Okay.
it does look like he could steal 30 bases this season.
Did he steal another base tonight? Because he got his first last night.
On Baseball Savant, they have him as 2 steals. So I guess he got his second one tonight.
Yeah.
But right now, the ground ball rate last year, 55.8%. Do you guys know what it is this season?
Mm-mm.
I would say like 71%.
64.7%. The ground ball rate's even worse.
Whoa.
And that was, I think, the biggest concern is he had a really good home run to fly ball rate last year. So when he was putting the ball in the air, it was going over for home runs a lot. Last year. And with the higher ground ball rate, that's a huge problem. So I will not take my victory lap yet.
No,
obviously
we are dumping him on the death cart though.
But
so.
you best believe if halfway through the season, 3/4 of the season, I will be bringing that thread back up. Not as much for Clegg, because Clegg is my guy, and Clegg, it was a good discussion. But the other guy, Taylor Bauer, was kind of coming at me like all night about it, and like literally, I had like a 20 thread conversation with him.
It was ridiculous.
Yes, and I eventually had to tell him, I was like, dude, I'm going to bed. Like, I'm not talking about this anymore.
Shout out to that dude. I mean,
yeah, he was going in on it. So best believe I will be having that in my back pocket if it gets to that point. But if not, then I won't be bringing this up again. So that is
next on Bring Out Your Dead classic. Bring Out Your Dead is Kyle Finnegan. One Marty brings him up. Blown up, may have lost his job as the closer in the process. That was just a 5
closer
runs
for the Nationals. That's an oxymoron. The Nationals don't get save opportunities.
Their only win is a save opportunity.
I know.
He has a save, but he was going for a second save. Well, 5 runs in 1/3 of an inning, 3 home runs. If I'm specking, and I'm not sure you want to, but if I am, Hunter Harvey hasn't looked that good. Maybe Carl Edwards Jr. Maybe.
Kyle Finnegan, he better finna be off your roster.
Yeah,
he is literally awful. And I did you guys draft any Kyle Finnegan? I didn't.
I have a share.
You do?
My name's Marty, and I have a Finnegan problem.
This is the same space, Marty, but
that's why he was my guy. He's in my TGFBI league, and I had him and Heaney and Scherzer all in one day, and my disaster.
Serious question: is it worth rostering a Nationals relief pitcher because they're not going to get you many save opportunities, and all of them will likely give you bad ratios?
I like Hunter Harvey. I think he's worth a speculative ad because he was supposed to be the closer of the future in Baltimore for a while, but injuries kind of. I would take a speculative ad on him, but that'd probably be it.
Finnegan has no strikeouts yet. 0.
No, he doesn't throw hard, and he's literally complete ass. So, I mean,
and David's cussing in the pod.
If you have Kyle Finnegan on your roster, you will make me mad if you keep him on your roster. Get him off your rosters right now.
David, would you trade Kyle Finnegan for Michael Harris?
That's pretty good. I don't know. Would you guys do Pablo Lopez and Josh Hader for Corbin Burns?
I'd take Burns.
Oh. Burns is going nowhere yet. We need 1 month of him being terrible.
Yeah,
he was considered literally the best fantasy baseball pitcher.
Yeah.
I do think Pablo Lopez has found a new gear this year.
Yeah.
Keeper is legit.
I agree, but I know Doc doesn't.
He always does this in April. We're going to have a different
true.
conversation.
He had a good April last year. That's true.
He had a good April the year before that. He had like a under 1 ERA. This is the same Pablo Lopez, all right?
Our buddy
I think
Tony,
he's different.
Our buddy Tony, who made the Pablo Lopez blow-up video last year, he texted me right away when Pablo had a good start. He's like,
you know what?
Doc.
Pablo Lopez got out of a bases loaded 1 out situation against
that's
the
just
Royals.
boys being boys. You know?
That's right.
I'm telling you guys, Pablo Lopez is going to be different in June.
So what do you think his final ERA is going to be, Doc?
Pablo Lopez?
Yeah.
Like 3.7, 3.8.
I'll go under 3.5. I'll go under 3.5. How about 3.5 is the line?
You're going under 3.5?
I'll go under 3.5.
Okay, yeah.
He's in a new league.
No matter what.
He's in a new league, so they haven't seen him as much yet. He doesn't play as much divisional opponents this year because they changed the scheduling.
Okay, that
he has
hurts.
A new pitch in his sweeper that he's throwing more instead of his changeup he used to throw a lot. There's all lines. I'm not saying next year. I'm saying this year.
This is literally almost the same argument me made for Sean Manai, who can't even make the rotation.
It's early. It's a week. It's a week.
That is not fair, but I like that you went
You're as
there,
cold as
Doc.
ice.
Yeah, I don't know why you go there. What about Dre Jameson? His Uncle Ted Talks brings up Dre Jameson is
Dre.
scoring a lot, and he got the save. If he's out there, I'd pick up Dre Jameson.
Did you watch the game he got the save, though? It was
No,
a
I didn't.
6-out save. Like, they brought him in the 8th, and
I
he
feel like
just
he
did
could be
really
that
well.
Seth Lugo guy that goes multiple innings, gets some holds, the occasional save.
Jameson right now has no role. They don't know what they're doing with him.
No.
He should be starting.
He should be. You're right. But it's also because
Yeah, the
Scott
Ryan
McGuff has looked completely awful, and they don't have Kevin Ginkel doesn't look good. They don't have anybody that could step in and be a closer. He is the best stuff, but he's not a one inning guy.
Has a save for them. I said Chafin has a save for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Another
yeah,
anti-vaxxer.
that's usually Doc that brings up those comments. That's hilarious.
Wait, what did Marty say?
Is it
Is that another
soon to put
anti-vaxxer?
Kelnick
He was
on
the only
wagon
anti-vaxxer
again?
on the Tigers out of everyone. He was the only one that couldn't go to Toronto last year. That's the only reason I know that.
That's hilarious. Our buddy Britton, check out his podcast called It's Gone. One of the better new podcasts out there. Is it too soon to put Jared Kelnick on the bring out your dead wagon again?
It's never too soon. The man's not hitting against lefties. I don't know. I'm not sure it's early, but if
I
they're
think it's
not playing him
amazing
against lefties,
Somebody dragged a dead body out there and then started him. And then, I mean,
You already said he was already dead.
he was killed last year multiple times. Like, he is goddamn dead.
drag him out there to shoot
If
him
I'm not
again.
mistaken, he had a good spring training last year too, and then did the same thing. He can't hit breaking balls.
Wait, Jared Kelnick as a GIF is that Simpsons one where they're like, stop, he's already dead.
That's right. He is already dead. Jared, I mean, if Jared Kelnick becomes something, that's great, but it probably won't be on any of our teams, I think. I feel confident saying that. Did you guys draft any Jared Kelnick? Because I have 0 shares.
No.
Well, that might be the first guy that we all didn't draft. It's kind of interesting.
Let me just one more guy because I want to get Doc's talk about Eloy. Oh my gosh. Hamstring injury again. Running from first to third. He pulled a hamstring. Come on. It's the same old stuff. And I'm glad I started fading him towards the end of draft season. Same old stuff. Doc, good. Bring out your dead.
I got 1 share of him because I thought he was just going to DH, but DHers still have to run.
Who are we talking about?
Eloy.
Jimenez.
Oh, Eli, yeah. Unfortunate. He's so talented.
It was between him and Lou Bob in our home league, and I picked the wrong injury-prone White Sox.
There you go. Forrest says, has Jared Kelnick an off-speed pitch in his career? That's a good question. I don't think he has. Has there been anybody as hyped up as him that's been as much of a bust as he's been? Like Jason Hayward was pretty hyped up. He's
Luke
the first other one
Hochevar.
that came to mind. Huh?
Luke Hochevar.
He's a pitcher. I'm talking about like a hitter.
Dustin Ackley.
That's a good one.
I think he was hyped up more than Dustin Ackley.
Dustin Ackley was a top 5 pick.
I don't know. Forrest also does bring about Eloy that
Ackley,
he lost a lot of weight and was like the best shape of his life, but didn't really matter. Do we all like Joey Gallo? Is he the real deal?
Oh,
No.
I don't know. No, I'm not
I think
sure
he's
if
better
I'm
than
on
last
Joey
year, though.
Gallo train.
I think I like his stock
Yeah,
better than last year.
That's I would say that. Yeah.
5 outfielder leagues. I think it's okay to take a stab on him if is your 5th or 6th outfielder, especially if you need home runs. He's got 3 so far. So, would you rather have Joey Gallo or Garrett Kelnick? Because I'd rather have Joey Gallo.
Gallo.
LC's either in deep
I
thought
think
or
Gallo. We were over Larnach taking his spot against lefties. So Gallo and Kelnick are, yeah.
they are kind of Uncle Ted. It's a good point there with that one. That was a good. It wasn't all just bring out your dead. It was just a fun overall, just talking about stuff. But sometimes it needs to be said because people are airing out our frustrations too. I think that's what bring out your dead's all about, right? Just airing
It's a week of
frustrations.
pent up aggression. We've all been, flipping out.
That's right. All right, time for one of our new segments of the show, and it's going to be the doctor's office.
Dave, do you know where that picture of me is from?
Was that the live stream that you did?
That's your wedding.
Oh, you mean the picture of you?
Yeah. What do you mean the live stream? It's a cartoon doctor room.
I don't even know where my head is at. Okay, go ahead, Doc.
For doctor's office, the contingency is they're owned in less than 50% of leagues. So if you're in a 10 or 12 team league,
we should preference, what does the doctor's office mean?
These are pitching streamers for this weekend that are owned in less than 50% of ESPN leagues.
And why are we calling it the doctor's office? Because Doc is prescribing these pitchers to you.
Yes, exactly.
So before you guys are like, how does that correlate? There you go.
Okay. So the first one is going to be good old Clev Dog, owned in 16.4% of ESPN leagues. And you can just see the big difference between that and CBS. I think it's important to just know what format you're playing in. So opening day against the Astros threw 98 pitches. So they're not easing him in at all. The thing I do worry about, and I think is to make note, is if you play in a whip league, he had 3 walks and 2 hit by pitches. So that command is a little shaky. But the Pirates have scored 24 runs in 7 games so far, and they've played in hitter-friendly ballparks at Cincinnati and at Boston. Now, I know it is their home opener, but I like them, or I like Clevenger against them. Next one's going to be Tanner Family Houck, owned in 3.8% of ESPN leagues. And in that format, he's a relief pitcher only, but he's a starter. So he can kind of have that cheat role. And this was David's guy last year. So sometimes it's just one season too late, but stretch into a starter, 5 innings pitched in his debut, 10 whiffs, 27 swings on 76 pitches with only 1 walk. And Marty, I'm sorry, this is going to be the first of many shots I take at Detroit, but they've scored 18 runs so far, which is second lowest in MLB. And then the last one is Mackenzie Gore, owned in 11.4% of leagues. This is a risky play at Colorado, and I made this graphic before the 1-0 ball game in Coors, which, credit to Emily Nyman, this is the 12th game in Coors history that has been 1-0. So you likely won't see that again. But I like the upside we saw against the Braves. 6 Ks, he got the win, 13 swinging strikes. Fastball topped out at 96.5 miles an hour. The Rockies have had less than 5 runs in 5 games since opening day. This is an offense that isn't projected to be as good as I think we saw initially. And I know this is kind of a hot take, or maybe not. I like Mackenzie Gore as the highest upside pitcher in the Nationals offense. Obviously better than Corbin, better than Josiah Gray. I think he's their ace, but I don't think he gets that recognition. He didn't start opening day, doesn't have that salary, but remember, a really highly touted prospect with the Padres and a main piece in the Soto deal.
And as Uncle Ted talks, 13 swinging strikes in his first start for them, which is really good. He also likes Tanner Houck. Is nice. Tanner Houck's a good guy to have on there. And Gavin Stone could be on Doc's list.
Yeah, I do like Gavin Stone. I don't think they stretch him out enough initially.
Well, who cheated the Marty's Party graphic up already?
Not me.
It just popped up. It's LC. I don't know where LC goes. Brendan, Doc, did you go to the University of Bermuda Medical School?
Mm-hmm. That is where I got my undergrad.
Your undergrad, not even your master's.
Yes, and then I did my master's at Marty, what's your hat say? Banks Journal University. That shows how fake of a doctor you are. All right. Well, those are some good pitching streamers that the doc is prescribing to you. As LC, we'll be back in a second. Before we get to best bets, as we did not put the order in the right thing here, Doc made that mistake. Let's get them. I already put your thing up, Doc. You put them in the wrong spot. Somebody took out Marty's graphics.
That's your fault. We have another segment that is new this year, and that is going to be Marty's Party. So, Marty, why don't you tell us a little bit about your party here?
Alrighty. So, actually, this time I overshot it. I did both. We're going to focus on my hitters, but I did both pitchers and hitters because I couldn't remember if I needed to do both. So I did both. But so yeah, these are the guys that are coming up. Let me bring up my little cute graphic here. Where'd you go? Did you delete it?
No, it's in there. I'll pull it up for you.
All right. Oh, there we go. Cool. So yeah. So Marty's Party for those for you guys on YouTube. That's a young Marty. I think
Wow.
Art, you're a dad. I don't know if you can see that. How old do you think I am? Am I 4, 5? Is that a 6-year-old kid? I have no clue.
Cute kid, Marty.
You know, it was it was short lived, but I'm glad we got to live it there. So yeah, so this is Marty's party. I'm gonna go through my 3 hitters, and we're all gonna pick only one. It's a very exclusive party. Only one person gets to come to the party. I'm going to let the guys pick which ones they think it should be, and then I'll let you guys know who my guy is. So starting with number 1, Yandy Diaz, Tampa Bay, first base and third base eligible on Yahoo. 49% rostered on Yahoo leagues as well. So he's batting 333 with 2 home runs, 6 RBI, and he's batting the top of the Rays lineup. So he's getting as many at-bats as possible. He has 3 games versus Oakland this weekend at home. And David, have you been on Yandy's baseball savant page lately?
I haven't. I do know he's lifting the ball up a lot more this year.
It is blood red, my brother. 100% in average exit velocity, 97% in max exit velocity, 84% in XBA. He's not striking out. He's walking at the 97th percentile. There's red literally everywhere. So Yandy Diaz, 3 games this weekend versus Oakland. I mean, it's a poor pitching staff. It's an offense that's top 5 right now. So yeah, I really like that play coming up for this weekend. Number 2 is Brian Anderson. We don't have to dive too much into him, but yeah, third base outfield eligible, 48% rostered, 3 bombs, batting 500. He has 3 games at home versus the Cardinals. So we got to like the fact that he's in Milwaukee for this weekend. And then lastly, Lane Thomas, Washington Nationals, 10% rostered outfielder, slashing 333, 385, 417. No home runs yet, but he's got 4 RBIs. He's gotten you the stolen base. He's hitting first at the top of that terrible Nationals lineup, but he's still getting you 4 or 5 at bats every time around. And 3 games at Coors Field. So he's going to be in Colorado in the beautiful confines of Coors Field. So I'm going to go around the horn here. Yandy Diaz, Brian Anderson, and Lane Thomas. I want to hear each one of you guys. Who would you pick? Who'd you let into the party, or who's going home early on a Friday night? And sorry, buddy, you just didn't make the cut. We're going to start with you, Doc. Who do you got?
Lane Thomas. He's facing Jose Urena. And if somebody is not welcome to a party facing that guy, then I don't want to be at that party either.
Fair enough. David.
I'm saying who I wouldn't invite to the party.
No, who is, there's only one person allowed. It's a very exclusive list. We're packed, David. It's week 1. Everyone's here. Everyone's paying attention.
Man.
Everyone's,
It's at capacity.
only one guy is getting in. Who's the guy that's coming with?
What's the cover at this place?
If you're a girl, you get in for free. If you're a guy,
Obviously.
it's like any college place.
Who do you know here?
I love Brian Anderson. I feel like but Zach Eflin against Oakland.
No.
We're pitchers.
We're strictly hitters right now.
Oh, strictly hitters.
Gosh,
Brian
this guy
Anderson.
doesn't listen.
Brian Anderson for me. Sorry.
Okay, Brian Anderson and Art, LC Cheesecake. What do we got?
You know, I'm tempted because Yandy is pretty strong because I liked him coming in. He's just a really good baseball player. But Anderson's so hot. Anderson.
All right, Anderson. Okay. All right. So it's split pretty much. I'm going to tilt the scales here. Yandy Diaz is coming into the party. See him at home versus Oakland. He's going to roll. He's going to absolutely destroy. So I think all 3 are really good. Are really good. Thank you, Britton. Shout out to you. There ain't no party like a Marty Party. It's true. Especially me at 5 years old. I mean, you can tell that guy, he's all about shots and, getting a little high, but, so yeah, we're going to go, I'm going with Yandy Diaz this weekend, but I think all 3 guys are good. This may be the only time I do pitchers, but I'm going to hop into them very quickly. Justin Steele versus Texas, Noah Syndergaard at Arizona, and Zach Eflin versus the Athletics. Doc, out of those 3 guys, who's coming with you to the party? Who's your wingman?
It's not Zach Eflin because you misspelled his last name.
That's true.
So you obviously don't respect him. It's got to be Noah Syndergaard.
What?
Noah Syndergaard. I didn't think. Wait, I have.
Doc took some drugs before he came to the party.
Doc hit a little bit of the ecstasy.
He did, I think.
Okay.
With that call.
Yeah, there's people doing lines of coke in the bathroom at this party.
Party's party wild, bro.
It's getting wild over here. DMendy, who do you got?
Me and Uncle Ted Talks are on the same page. We are both team Zach Eflin here.
I'm sorry, I don't recognize him with that spelling.
No,
That's not a
he's
real
right.
person.
No, he's completely right. Don't
It's
worry
also
about that.
Z-A-C-H. It's not Z-A-C.
You can't do it all, dude. Okay, Jesus Christ. He's
You
48%
misspelled his
roster.
first
Hey, if you
and
get
his last name, that's hard
somebody
to do.
who's someone who's 75% rostered, and if I misspell his name, then there's a problem. 48%, grow up, dude. You're not good enough.
It's not
Elsie.
a tough name to spell, though.
You know, Zach Eflin's going to show up to the party, and he's going to say his name, and you're saying, how do you spell it? It's going to be completely wrong, and he's going to be kicked out.
he won't be able to find himself on the list.
No, he's like,
we
there's
have
no
nobody
Zach.
on there.
There's no Zach F. Plan on.
Art, who do you got, buddy?
So I'm going to be honest. I didn't hear all three names. I heard Syndergaard and Eflin.
And Steele.
But
Justin
I'm having
Steele, your
technical
boy.
difficulties. And Steele? Oh, my gosh. I'm in on Syndergaard this year. I think Syndergaard's just pitching well. I think the Dodgers magic is working on him. I'm going with Syndergaard.
I can't argue with any of these because I picked all three of them. But I'm going to go with Zach Eflin, misspelled or whatnot, versus Oakland, 48% rostered, versus Detroit, 5 innings pitched, 5 strikeouts. He looked great. I think he'll hover around that 5-6, 6 at the most. So if you're in a quality starts league, don't do it. But a standard, 5x5 roto, Zach Eflin versus Oakland, fire him up.
Yes, I'll start Zach Eflin in leagues I play money for, but I don't respect him enough to spell his first or last name right. That's correct.
Right. Uncle Ted gave us.
Exactly right. And if he
the
does
right
well, I'll
spelling
spell
there.
it right next time.
Rail slammers at Marty's Detroit party, but it is Uncle Ted put the right spelling in the chat.
There we go. Zacheflin for all those people named Marty who doesn't know how to spell it.
Why is the kid from Omen dressed up in baseball stuff?
The Omen.
I don't know what that.
That's messed up because if it's like one of those scary movies, those kids look dead inside, and I did not. Look dead
I don't
inside.
even know what the Omen is. I haven't seen it.
It's one of those scary movies where those creepy kids that just no, maybe okay, little Children of the Corn vibes. I see what they're saying.
Oh, yeah, that got pretty freaky pretty fast. Doc, do you want to walk us through here some of your best bets for some of the people that might be throwing some money on some gambling action here?
Yeah, take it from a guy that looks at his phone for bets religiously. So the only thing that you can do, the only site that really allows you to bet things in advance is going to be DraftKings. So the first is the Dodgers winning the series at Arizona. It's a 4-game series, so they either have to go 3-1 or 4-0. But these are the pitching matchups. Dustin May versus Merrill Kelly, Clayton Kershaw versus Madison Bumgarner, Noah Syndergaard versus Zach Davies, and then Michael Grove versus Ryan Nelson. I think the Dodgers can win at least 3 of those. I think every game they have the advantage, and that's at plus 130. And then what I like is for Friday, the Astros Twins over 8 runs, which is minus 105 on DraftKings. Jose Urquidy started the season slow out last year, 3 earned in 4.2 innings against the White Sox. Sonny Gray did throw 6 shutout against the Royals, but only 1 K and pitched to a lot of contact. The Astros have scored 6+ runs in 3 out of their last 5 games. And I think with Twins, the recency bias of 3 earned in the last 2 games plays a factor in this line, but they've also faced Sandy Alcantara and Jesus Luzardo. Before that, the Twins were on a good offensive pace. So I think you can get over 8 runs for these 2 good offenses playing, average pitchers.
Interesting. Okay. So, Doc, are you going to put your own money on that?
Oh, of course. I always do.
All right. That's all the people wanted to know, to make sure if you put your money where your mouth is there. So those are Doc's, some of his better bets there.
I make between 5 to 10 bets a day. So, of course.
All right. Now, if you were with us last year, you were very familiar with Doc's favorite segment. I will definitely, you're watching on YouTube, he's jumping in his chair,
Woo!
ready to go here. It is, of course, Marty's 2 start pitchers for the next coming week.
All right, there we go. So week 2, we are finally here. I know this is everybody's favorite segment, including mine and Doc's. So, we're ready to get going here. I'm going to bring up the Gwen Stefani, no doubters. Gwen, it's great to see you. You did a terrible job on The Voice. I'm glad they dropped you as a host. Yes, I do watch The Voice and American Idol. I'm a weirdo, but it is what it is. So we're going to go here. These are the no doubt pitchers for week 2. That's going to be April 10th through the 16th. Starting with everyone's number one pitcher. It should have been Garrett Cole, right? I think everyone agrees now he's the number one pitcher by far. At Cleveland versus Minnesota. Dylan Cease at Minnesota versus Baltimore. Shane McClanahan versus Boston at Toronto. Alek Manoah, fiery boy there, versus Detroit versus Tampa. Aaron Nola, Miami at Cincinnati. Spencer Strider, I'm still believing in him, baby. Cincinnati at KC. Shane Bieber, Yankees at Washington. Framber Valdez at Pittsburgh versus Texas. Sandy Alcantara at Philly versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. Luis Castillo at Chicago Cubs versus Colorado. Julio Urias at the Giants versus the Cubs. Zach Gallen versus Milwaukee at Miami. Now, I know Gallen's been struggling here. He has a 7.59 ERA, but his xERA is 3.96, so I'm not worried about it. Everything looks fine there across the board. So, and we talked about Corbin Burns lastly at Arizona, at San Diego. The velocity is down. The Twitter birds are chirping. Maybe there's a possible injury. I'm like I said, wait till a full month before we make any haste decisions there. He's still a no doubt starter for me right now.
I agree with you on all of those, but Aaron Nola, I am not a fan of. But you're right. He's a no doubter.
I was saying, like 2018, you didn't like Aaron Nola. Nothing's changed.
No, I've been an Aaron Nola fan for a while, but just regression has been coming.
Fair enough. We'll see. We'll see there. But we all know there's no league that you're not starting him, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have to. You spend an early pick on him. You're rolling with him.
All right, going to the should starts here. So these are the people that, it's either like, and this is how I break it up though for you guys new to the show. So for should starts, it's either ace pitchers that have been struggling lately, or good pitchers who have like tough matchups coming up. So you're probably going to start him, but it's not a for sure thing. Logan Webb. So he's playing the Dodgers. They're still really good. At Detroit, should be a cupcake matchup. And he has 16 strikeouts to only 2 walks and has a 2.57 xERA compared to a 6.54 ERA. So I have no fears with Webb. I think he's going to be good here moving out. Max Scherzer, that's somebody that I know a lot of people are concerned about. Versus San Diego at Oakland. Obviously, the San Diego is a tough matchup, but at Oakland should be pretty smooth there. But he's given up 12 hits and 11.1 innings. So Scherzer, keep an eye on him. Pablo Lopez, Mr. Controversial here. As always, I almost put him as a must start, but 2 tough matchups versus the White Sox at the Yankees. Looks great so far, but yeah, the matchups are what kind of set him off. And then lastly, Grayson Rodriguez, the Rook, career debut, 5 innings, 5 Ks. And what I really liked about him is that like that first inning, he struggled. He didn't look like he was going to be able to bust out of that, but he was able to maintain. He's playing Oakland at the White Sox, so they should be. I would be. You should start him. Here are the risky business guys. So these are the guys that it's kind of on the fence. You may want to start them. You may not, depending. Like 10, 12 team leagues, probably not. 15, you probably have to roll the dice. But starting with Miles Michaelis at Colorado versus Pittsburgh. I've never been a Michaelis guy. He did great last year, so I'm believing in the track record here. But at Colorado always scares me. Corey Kluber, the old boy, at Tampa versus the Angels. Andrew Heaney, Doc's boy. He's been... Man, he was almost on the cart after the last game.
This is the year I'm in on Andrew Heaney.
Andrew Heaney versus Kansas City at Houston. Houston's going to be super tough. I like the Kansas City matchup, obviously. Steven Matz at Colorado versus Pittsburgh. One hard matchup, one pretty good one. Kenta Maeda, that's the guy to keep an eye on, especially you and everyone in like 10 team leagues. Like he's still on the waiver wire. 12 team, he might be. He's kind of on that. He's kind of on that verge. So he's playing the White Sox and then at the Yankees. 2 tough matchups, but I love what I saw from Maeda. But Doc, you and I talked before the show. It's a little bit risky with his arm. Do you like? I remember you're a little bit more concerned than I am. I think it's just regular fatigue, him coming back off injury, finally diving into it. You think it's a little bit worse. What do you think?
Yeah, so there was the quote that he said, everything's good, just like fatigue. But other than that, I'm fine. I feel like fatigue is when pitchers say they're fatigued after one outing, I think that means it's getting cute for soreness. You would never come out and say, yeah, I'm not feeling good after your first outing. That's kept kind of hush-hush. The fact that he said anything after a first start, besides like it was great to be out there, is alarming.
Do you think it would be a good idea to move him, or do you think the Maeda that we've grown accustomed to before last year is back?
I mean, it's literally the definition of risky business. Had 9 strikeouts his first outing, but is facing 2 good offenses. I wouldn't play him, but you could see some upside. So that's I don't disagree with anything so far. I'm a little disappointed.
All right, lastly, take a seat. All right.
I love these.
Chris Hansen is back. He's ready to, be the bearer of bad news to all you who shouldn't be where you are right now. But yeah, take a seat. There's a lot of them on here. Let me see. I have a little bit more these are the guys. So these guys right here, I'm going to read off the first 5 guys. Honestly, I could see you in a 15-team league being a little desperate and maybe rolling the dice. I prefer you to not do it. But like, if you I look at my Glarf league, I look at my TGFBI league, there are people who have a 7.5 ERA right now because of all the craziness that's gone on. So I could see you maybe starting these guys. Kyle Gibson versus Oakland at the White Sox, Nick Pivetta at Tampa versus the Angels, Roenzi Contreras versus Houston at St. Louis, Mitch Keller versus Houston at St. Louis, and then Herman Marquez versus St. Louis at Seattle. I would sit those 5 guys, but I could see you possibly rolling the dice in a very deep league. And then to round it out, these are you just take a seat, buddy. Zach Greinke at Texas versus the Braves, Wade Miley at the Diamondbacks at San Diego, Kyle Mueller at Baltimore versus the Mets, Jose Suarez versus Washington at Boston, Matt Manning, I'll be watching closely, but as of right now, at Toronto versus the Giants, take a seat. Drew Smiley versus Seattle at the Dodgers, Bryce Elder versus the Reds at Kansas City, Patrick Corbin, the friend of the show, not really, but we talk about it so much, I wish he was our friend, at the Angels versus Cleveland, Josh Fleming versus Boston at Toronto, Luis Quesada at the Braves versus Philly, Connor Overton, never heard of him, at the Braves versus Philly, JP Sears at Baltimore versus the New York Mets, Matt Strom versus the Marlins at Cincinnati, and lastly, Ryan Weathers at the Mets versus Milwaukee. And I will round out my take a seat.
I didn't even see TED Talk comment, but I don't think Brice Elder is nice.
I do. I think Brice Elder actually.
That's risky business.
I think he should be in risky business, and I would bump down. I don't know why I can't see the risky business slide, but I would bump down Miles Michaelis, and I would bump down Steven Matz to take a seat, and I would bump Brice Elder up into risky business.
I don't have Steven Matz. I've never been a fan of, but here's Miles Michaelis. I even talked about this. It's an 8-year track record versus one bad week, right? Like he's under a 4 ERA for his entire career at college. I don't have a problem with someone sitting him there.
Michaelis alternates good and bad years, though.
He also, just to be honest with you guys, with the shift being limited this year, he was someone that never had a lot of great strikeout stuff. And now there's a lot more in general around the league. There's a lot more hits right now, just because there are a lot more balls flying through the holes. If you can't get strikeouts, there's a lot more chances for the ball to be put into play and for you to give a lot more hits. I think he's getting it as bad as anybody in the league right now. And that's why I'm concerned about Miles Michaelis, because a big part of his game is being limited. And for comparison, right now, Framber Valdez, who was another high ground ball pitcher, he's been working on a changeup that he's been debuting this year to help get more whiffs. If you look, his whiffs are up this year, just overall swing, strike, everything, because he added that into his arsenal. So he was giving up more hits, but he was also getting more whiffs. Miles Michaelis hasn't changed anything. And that's my concern with him, is he's just going to keep giving up a ton of hits. And that's why this is going to stay that way. I will be the first to admit if I'm wrong, but I think he's going to get bombed again next week, and you got to cut him.
You got to cut it.
And listeners, if you got nothing out of that, make sure Brice Elder, people like him. People are more enthused with Brice than I am. So let's see what Elder does coming up here.
But minimal disagreements for a week 1.
Yeah. I also like Uncle Ted Talks too. Me and him are a lot of times unlikes. Brice Elder, I was kind of with that too. So Brice Elder, we are both on him.
Because he faces Cincinnati at Atlanta and then versus the worst offense in the league.
Versus Cincinnati at Kansas City.
Yeah.
versus Miles Michaels, who's at Colorado in his first start.
Then Pittsburgh. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
yeah,
Pittsburgh doesn't look bad.
We're
They haven't looked
splitting
bad.
hairs. Yeah, whatever.
I mean, it's definitely obviously it's kind of depends on how you want to look at it. But Marty does an excellent job with
back to the drawing board.
Marty does a good job with.
Well, dude,
Michaelis
was one of those guys I'm looking at, but it's 8 years of a track record, and we're talking about 2. Like, do we just kick him out for one bad start? I don't have a problem with it, but
he's had 2, hasn't he? Has he gone twice?
You're right, 2 starts. That son of a no.
There we go. Yeah, I'm telling you, Marty, it's coming. It's coming. Let's go to our last segment of the night. LC, we're going down on the farm, going to the bullpen. Actually, going to the bullpen tonight with Mr. Lil Cheesecake here.
So there's been some situations, some bullpen situations that have been a bit murky, and I'm just trying to give a little bit of context to what I saw from a few. Today I'm going to talk about Texas, Arizona, the Angels, the A's, and the Twins. The Twins have had 2 guys get saves, Lopez and Duran. So Duran got the opening day save. The 3 people he faced were Perez, Vinny P, and Franmil. Lopez just got the save. They've only had 2. He faced Dozier, Isbell, and Eaton. It looks like Duran is still in that fireman role. He faced the tougher part of the lineup. So if that's coming up in the 8th, if that's coming up in the 7th, Duran might not be getting those saves. It looks to me like Lopez is going to be getting at least a partial share of the saves for the rest of the season. Invest accordingly. Oakland has had 2 guys get saved. Now, May looks like the highest leverage reliever. He's faced the 1 save they've had this season. Danny Jimenez got the 1 save. He's been throwing a lot. They're clearly the 2 most trusted guys in the bullpen in Oakland. Jimenez has the 1 save, but May has thrown against the tougher parts of the lineup. Clearly, that's going to be a split situation there as well. Texas is something I invested heavily in. Will Smith at the beginning of the season, the first waiver fab period, and he got the first save for the Texas bullpen. But last night, Leclerc got the save for them. So if you were thinking that Smith might have the role from Leclerc, it looks like Leclerc is still getting some run in that bullpen. Now Leclerc faced the part of the lineup that Leclerc faced when he got the save was the 3-4-5 of Baltimore: Santander, Mountcastle, and Gunnar. There was no and when Smith got it, it was Edmundo Soso, Bryson Stott, and Christian Pache were the 3 people lined up. So it wasn't like there's like a lefty-righty split here, but it does look like Leclerc is still definitely in that closer mix in Texas. But I think Smith is worth an add if he's not picked up in your league. He's worth an add if you think you might need some saves. He's going to be in there, especially when there's a lot of lefties. As we talked about earlier with Arizona, Chafin, I think Chafin is actually the most trusted reliever in that Arizona bullpen. And McGough has a save, but McGough's save came against the Dodgers. He wasn't facing tough hitters. As Marty was saying earlier, he's not really trusted. He's not pitched very well. I think Chafin is actually the guy in that bullpen that I like the best now. I also have some Joe Mantiply as well. He might get some run, but McGough hasn't looked good. None of the righties have really looked good. The White Sox, I did want to mention, Raylo's not pitching well. No one else is pitching well with the White Sox either. Graveman, not that good. If I was going to try to spec in Chicago right now, with Hendricks has had some good news. He might be coming back sooner than we expect. If I was specking in Chicago right now, I'd probably go to one of the lefties, Bummer, or probably Bummer. Angels as well. Jose Quijada got the first save of the season for the Angels. Manager Phil Nevin did say, though, that Estevez did not get it only because he had pitched 2 of the last 3 days. So Estevez is looking like he's still there. Jose Quijada's save was a one-off, even though Quijada has looked good. Those are some of the marquee situations, some of the context I've seen on those closing situations.
All right. Thanks for shedding some light on some bullpens, LC. We're going to close out the first episode of the regular season here with a little bit of a poem. I just put this together just in the last couple of minutes. So if you guys don't like it, don't hate me. But I wanted to give our listeners some poetry that we promised. Diaz, Yandy. When I get to start you, I feel very randy. Should a baseball player make me feel that way? Well, it does. And he's my bae. Like Ji-Hwan. Fantasy baseball, isn't it fun? Week 1 is in the books. With obsessed as we are, aren't we some cooks? The end.
Hey.
That's beautiful. That was beautiful stuff, David.
Thank you. Thank you. Poetry is in all our backgrounds here. If you guys do like the poems, we will try to put something together. I don't know. It's just something stupid and silly, but it's always in good fun here. If you guys enjoy the show, all of us, whether it's between making slides or putting the time to put the content together, if you guys are enjoying the stuff, please make sure you guys like the video on YouTube, you're subscribed to the channel, and you leave a comment below just to help the YouTube algorithm. If you're on the podcast feed, a 5-star rating and review is always super appreciated. And of course, let us know if there's any other things you would like to see, if there's content we're missing or ideas for certain segments. We're always experimenting here to not just give you guys the most informative baseball show ever, but also to give you guys fun and excitement and just make you laugh a little bit too. So everybody here works very hard, and we are pumped that the regular season is here and we can do this every single week for you guys. We will be here every single Thursday night. I'm thinking just by viewership, maybe that we'll do 9 o'clock because it seems like more people were tuning in around 9. So I think we'll probably do Thursdays at 9 p.m. So make sure you set a calendar because we will be doing this every single week for you guys. And we are so pumped. I think that's it. Really appreciate you guys. Also, if you want to join the Discord, you can make sure to message Doc at Trip Play Fantasy. Discord is now well over 100 members, and the YouTube channel is over 3,000 subscribers. So you guys have been coming out and supporting in a big way. For LC, for Doc, for Marty Party, I'm DMendy. We're going to make like a bread truck, and we're going to haul these buns. Catch you guys for week 2 next Thursday.